This is AAFD TV, the official streaming TV show for the American Association of Franchisees and Dealers, whose mission is to help our members achieve total quality franchising. Let's get today's show started.
Welcome to AAFD TV, the official streaming show of the American Association of Franchisees and Dealers. I'm your host, Cory Mosley, and I'm thrilled to have you with us. Zarco Einhorn Salkowski, PA, led by founding partner Robert Zarco, has been at the forefront of protecting the legal rights and interests of franchisees and franchisee associations, both domestically and internationally, for over 35 years. Zarco and his talented team of attorneys with backgrounds in accounting, economics, and banking have played a critical role as the great equalizer for franchisee clients across more than 500 franchise systems and 40 franchise associations in over 40 states and 20 countries. Recognized nationally as experienced, articulate, and creative commercial trial attorneys and negotiators, Zarco and the firm handle complex commercial litigation, business disputes, and transactions, including arbitration and mediation in federal and state courts nationwide. I'm thrilled to be joined in studio by Robert Zarco, founding partner at Zarco Einhorn Salkowski, PA. Robert, welcome to AAFD TV.
Thank you, Cory. I appreciate the invitation.
Woo, you've gotten a lot done in 35 years, haven't you?
And a lot more left in the rest of my life.
I love the energy and the attitude. Let's just get right to it. How can you and your law firm help franchisees and franchise associations succeed?
You know, it's all about information. You know how they say knowledge is power. We have developed a specialty and concentration in the area of franchise law, dealership law, distributorship law, as well as other complex commercial areas. And as a result of that, we have years and years of experience. As you well know, we're having represented franchisees from over 500 different brands throughout the years. There's a wealth of information that you develop from that. So based on that, we bring to each one of our clients, which we represent, all that knowledge. It gets to a point that when I talk to people, I said, do you have a crystal ball? They say, no. I say, well, believe it or not, I actually have a crystal ball in this area of law, because it is a rare event that a new issue would come to my attention that I have not handled over and over and over again. I know the beginning, I know the middle, and now I know how typically it's going to end.
You would think that there would be some lessons learned in that process, right? Why are some of these things been so repetitive over all these years?
It's really unfortunate that a lot of people just don't listen. It is very common for me to give speeches at a national level in front of associations, in front of other leadership groups, other franchise groups. And I tell them, you know what, do this, don't do that. Follow this kind of direction when a situation exists. And lo and behold, a month, 2 months, 3 months later, I get a call from somebody who was sitting in that room. And I said, but wait a second. You're telling me something that I remember I spoke about during that meeting. And I specifically said, this is not a good approach. Well, I did it anyway. So it is very interesting how people just sometimes they're stuck in their ways and they just don't listen to advice.
Now, you gave us a little preview, but you referred to it as the great equalizers. And when you think about that for people, why are your law partners and you so particularly best suited to really help franchisees and the associations resolve these disputes and negotiate with these franchisors?
That is probably one of the biggest elements that we have and factors that contribute to our success, and especially the success of our clients. The reason we're called the equalizer is because in the old days, and in fact still frequently, when a franchisor is going to get into a battle with the franchisee, you have, David versus Goliath. And the franchisor knows that the franchisee, by the time he needs legal assistance, is already financially decimated. And when that happens, the franchisor doesn't have to worry about whether the merits of their case are in fact worthy or not. As long as they keep the franchise,
wait them out, litigate them out, bury them.
As long as they leave the franchisee financially decimated and know that the franchisee cannot financially survive a legal battle, the franchisor is always going to win by default. So what happens is, based on the fact that, I have done extraordinarily well, financially over the last 40 years. And we are in a position that we're able to take these very, very complex cases that it doesn't matter how long it's going to last. And typically it's 2 to 3 years if it's a real complex matter. But we're able to take them on a contingency fee basis. And that's why we're the equalizer. Because before, while the franchisor would say, we're going to run the franchisee financially into the ground.
Right.
Now they have to say, oh my gosh, are we going to have to run Zarco into the ground? Well, they can't because I am very, very comfortable and able to do that. And that is the reason why we have been able to provide, in essence, the key to the courthouse to the franchisee. But then again, that's only after we have tried to work out every other possible alternative form of resolving the dispute between the franchisor and the franchisee.
Well, because it's very common in the legal community that you have these silos that you operate in where someone might be a contract attorney, but then they have to turn it over to someone else who's a litigator. That doesn't happen inside your firm. You're handling it from A to Z.
Anything,
with franchises.
All aspects of the relationship in the franchise world, distributorship world, licensing world, dealership world, we handle from the very, very beginning to the very end, whether it be from the point of engaging in the drafting of the agreement or the review and analysis of an agreement that's already been presented to us, to the point of negotiating that agreement, to helping the franchisee get in the business in terms of the operational aspects of the business, as well as the possible sale of that business at some point, or the expiration of the business and what happens then, or if there's some kind of dispute that arises throughout that process between the franchisee and the franchisor, we will either participate in the business negotiation and resolution, or a mediation, or an arbitration, or litigation. Our law firm is known for being consummate, extraordinarily good trial lawyers. We are trial lawyers. There's a lot of litigators that are not trial lawyers. Now, the other big asset that we have, it is also very rare, is when you have lawyers that are very good in the legal profession, but do not have the requisite financial, accounting, and economic background that is necessary in order to evaluate a legal dispute.
They have to rely on someone outside of the organization.
And that becomes very, very difficult, and it's very consequential to the client, because a lot of times lawyers give legal advice in a vacuum.
Sure.
And business people give business advice in a vacuum.
Right.
I'm in the unique situation of recognizing that whenever I give legal advice, I evaluate and assess what is the business consequence that will arise from providing that legal advice. Likewise, because I can't escape the fact that I have a very strong financial, accounting, and economic background, I commonly share business advice with my clients, but recognize that as I do so, I have to keep it within the confines of the law to make sure that a wonderful business decision does not create a violation of law. It is that balance that puts us in a very unique position to be the best providers of advice to our clients.
Well, I have to imagine it's very helpful to be able to walk down the hall to get any of the resources that you need without, putting that out or going outside of your world to do that. The other thing I think is very valuable here is many times the single point franchisee, for those exact reasons you're talking about from the economics, don't feel like they could work with somebody like you to protect their business and protect their franchise. So I think the points you were making about the contingency opportunities and just the ways to leverage basically the power of the firm against the franchisor for a positive resolution, I think is so important.
Well, look, the reality is when you have reached a certain point in your life where you are at the apex and pinnacle of your career and have been financially rewarded for that, I think it's really important to give back to the community and to give back to the profession that, and the industry that I have had very close to my heart for many, many years. And I take cases that at times I know that financially the firm will lose money on. And I don't care. And I don't care because I pursue justice. I can afford to do it. And I really enjoy the concept of changing people's lives in a way that others are not able to do. And that to me is something that I hope is my legacy when I'm no longer around.
I really like that. Today's climate, what are some of the greatest challenges that you're seeing right now for franchisees? And frankly, how is your firm helping them navigate and prepare or respond to that?
One of the most important things that franchisees need to understand, as well as the franchisors, is that most of the issues and legal disputes that arise are caused by a lack of communication between the franchisor and the franchisee. The franchisor undertakes to want to put into place and implement a new policy that they believe is going to be very good for them. You have to understand there's an inherent conflict of interest between franchisors and franchisees. The franchisors are looking to increase the franchisee's gross revenues. So when you apply the royalties to that gross revenue, there's a higher return for the franchisor. The franchisee's objectives are a little different. Yes, they want to increase gross revenues so long as it increases the net income and profitability of the business. There are many times when you have all of these promotional discounting that is undertaken where you do, buy one, get one free or cost loss leaders and all these discounts that are wonderful to attract customers to the business, but the franchisor is making more royalties because there's higher gross revenue, but the franchisee is starting to lose more money because either the labor or the cost of goods sold or everything else associated with satisfying the promotional discounts becomes a problem. You also have situations where the franchisors, in order to enhance the gross revenues of the business, of the franchisee's business, so they can then in turn pay more royalties and advertising and marketing fees to the franchisor.
Is this where kind of you start thinking about like tech fees and ad funds and all these different things? Is that where some of these challenges come in?
There are all kinds of elements. The one I was talking about now was, I was leading to the point of franchisors requiring franchisees to remodel stores.
Okay.
And remodeling is typically part of the franchise obligation as set forth in the franchise agreement. The question is one of scope. Is it commercially reasonable, the amount of remodeling and reinvestment that you are asking or expecting a franchisee to undertake? And is there a corresponding return on investment that's going to come from that remodel that makes commercial sense?
For the franchisee.
For the franchise.
Sure.
It will make sense for the franchisor.
Correct.
Because the franchisor's view is, it's OPM. Is what I call the OPM principle.
Okay.
Other people's money. Franchisor can very simply say, you're the franchisee. Listen, I want you to put a whole new kitchen equipment and new furniture, and I want you to upgrade the facade and redo the landscape. Well, that's great, fine and dandy.
It's our brand refresh. And then you got to get on.
Yeah, but the brand refresh helps the brand, and hopefully it would help the franchisee. But many times the problem arises when the franchisor imposes these new remodeling or renovation requirements without having empirical evidence that demonstrates that there is an actual return on investment. So you have that. You have issues with the advertising fund that many times I have currently about half a dozen matters that I'm dealing with where we have evidence that the franchisors are dipping into the marketing and advertising fund in order to offset operational expenses that would otherwise fall on the P&L of the franchisor. And the reason to do that is, well, naturally, if you reduce the expenses, you're going to increase the net income of the company.
Right.
And once you do that and you apply a multiple, you increase the valuation of the company. So there's
other factors.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So there's an incentive there for that to occur. And tech fees are just let me put my hand in your pocket under the guise that it's a technology fee that you need to pay for us to provide you with the technology that we should be providing you anyway, which is one of the reasons why you pay the royalty and service fees. But franchisors have now realized that we can pass on the tech fee obligation to a franchisee as a separate item, that would become then the obligation of the franchisee. And again, the franchisor's net income goes up. Franchisees have to understand and know that whenever the franchisor says, we need you to sign this document because we have a new agreement for the tech fee or this and that, whenever the franchisor requires you to sign a document, is because it is an automatic red flag that they are acknowledging that the existing franchise agreement that you have with them doesn't authorize them to do what they're asking you to do. So the minute that you sign this document, you have now amended your franchise agreement without even knowing it. And that's what's going on with tech fees.
Wow. I know we could talk about this forever. We're out of time, but man, good stuff there. Zarco, as you're affectionately referred to. Thanks for joining the show today.
It's my pleasure. I always enjoy talking to you, Cory, and hope we can do this again.
Of course, we sure will. To connect with Robert and his team, visit zarcolaw.com online, email Robert directly at rzarco@zarcolaw.com, or call their offices at 1-800-299-4929. Well, that does it for today's show. Thanks for watching, and be sure to share this episode with your industry friends, partners, and colleagues. I'm Cory Mosley for AAFD TV, and I will see you next time.